MEI. You heard of MEI? MEI. Okay, so it's called marginal efficiency of investments. Usually students are quite confused by this. Some notes even water it down, okay? But let me explain to you what it means. This is quite technical, so pay some attention. Okay, what is the MEI curve? First, when you say efficiency, we are not talking about market failure. It's not about allocative efficiency or productive efficiency. Efficiency depends on what you want to get out of this thing. Okay, if you say a student is very efficient, that could mean that the student is very fast at completing the schoolwork. You say this suppose a domestic helper is very efficient, maybe the domestic helper is very efficient at completing the housework, right? So it all depends on what is the outcome you want to get. When you invest, it is quite clear you want to make profits. So marginal efficiency of investments could be seen as profitability. How profitable are your investments going to be? Okay. Profitability is always given by revenue minus cost. In the world of investments, we don't really say you invest to earn revenue. We tend to say you invest to get expected returns. This is expected profitability. So expected profitability of investments is always given by the expected returns from the investment minus the cost. The cost of investing is given by interest rates. Why? Okay, so in case you're wondering, when I invest, why is the cost interest? So let's say you want to invest to probably set up an F&B outlet. Okay, you borrow $100,000. When you borrow, you have to repay interest. So this is the cost. What if you do not need to borrow? What if you have 100,000 sitting in your bank? Is there still a cost to investing? Yes, op cost, correct. There's still an op cost. You could have put the money in the bank and earned same interest. So either way, whether you have surplus cash or you need to borrow, this is the cost of investment. Okay, good. Follow on. So the MEI actually looks like this. This is the level of investments that you plan to undertake. Planned investments. You can see this as your interest rates, or you can see it as your expected returns. Okay. You can follow the labeling that you have. And this is downward sloping. So when it's downward sloping, what does it mean? Inverse relationship between interest rates and investments. In a sense, if the interest rates fall, you will undertake more investments. So when interest rates fall, the number of profitable investments will increase, right? Because we assume expected returns stay the same. Okay, if the expected returns stay the same, but interest rates go down, then of course expected profitability of investments go up and you undertake more investments. questions? Okay. So I'll share a bit more details on the MEI, okay? Because I said investments is affected by the three things here. Interest rates, cost of operations, expectations. So, if interest rates rise or fall, you see a movement along the MEI. If expectations change, that's the other factor. If expectations improve, you see a rightward shift of the MEI. Naturally, it means that if expectations worsen, you see a leftward shift. Why? Because expectations affect expected returns. If I feel more optimistic, I think the economy is really going to do well, expected returns go up, my MEI will shift to the right. That means if the interest rates remain the same, you will still invest more, you see? Because your expected returns has gone up. So your expected profitability has also increased. Does that make sense? It's a bit like non-price determinant, so demand shifts to the right. So this is a non-interest rate determinant. Okay. Any questions before I move on? But there is a difference between a change and the state of expectations. If the state of expectations, state means the current situation, right? I'm not talking about change. If the state is that people are very pessimistic, if everyone thinks the economy is not going to do very well, then you should be looking at a very steep MEI. A very steep MEI like the one I'm drawing means that even when you cut interest rates, you see, the amount of investments barely increase because they are very pessimistic. They just think there's no point investing. By the way, if you have a very optimistic outlook, it's also a very steep MEI. Because when you raise interest rates, you can't change investments by much. Then the last one is if your corporate tax changes. If it goes up, you will also see the shift. If it goes up, it's a leftward shift of MEI. Okay. So that's the discussion for your MEI curve. When you have a movement, when you have a shift, when you have a change in the steepness. The steepness is known as your interest elasticity. And here I think it's a good time for a break because you need to consolidate your thoughts. Okay. So now I've gone